Hey, how are you?
Not bad. How are you?
Good, thank you. What are you drawing there?
I'm not. I'm writing a letter.
Oh, that's sweet. Who's it to, or is it a big secret?
No, it's to Marika. I have like 2 letters which I've written and haven't sent.
Oh,
It's really bugging me.
oh no. Oh dear. Can you not make it to the post office, or is it just forgetting it? Or
Do you want me to post something tomorrow? Yes, but I need to put them in envelopes. Okay. Pardon?
it's okay. Nick kind of answered my question in a roundabout way. I realised I do know Marika. I just don't know how you say her name. How do you say the name again?
Marika.
Marika, thank you, Marika. Fab. Yeah, I've met them on a call a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unmitigated joy.
She is lovely.
Oh, yeah. She seems nice, yeah. Not really had much of a chance to chat to her, but yeah.
It's worth doing if you ever get the chance.
Oh. Fab. I'll keep a lookout. Nick, have you done any more drawing today?
No, I had an interview today.
Oh, how'd it go?
I think it went well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I liked them. They seem to like me.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah, we'll see.
That's really good. So, are they at the top of your list of companies you'd like to work for?
They're pretty high. Like, I don't know if I want to leave my current job or not.
Yeah.
Like, I've literally just been offered a promotion.
Oh wow. Okay.
But
He doesn't want it.
well, the company's not hugely stable.
You've said this before, haven't you? Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, I'm in two minds as to whether to take it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a nice company, the one that I'm interviewing for. So.
Yeah. Do they seem stable and good prospects there and everything?
I mean, they're another startup, so like there's always a level of risk there, but they're at least like profitable already and have like a lot of good venture funding behind them.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
It's early days, but
Yeah.
something might come of it.
Hey, fantastic. That's really good. I'm glad it went well. Do you know when you'll hear back?
They said in the next couple of days, but I think there's going to be probably another two interview rounds before any offer could be made.
Oh, great. Hey, Ainsley.
Exciting. Hey.
Your hair's looking wonderful.
Really?
Yeah.
That's shocking.
I loved all the maps.
Thank you. Aren't the maps awesome?
They're such awesome maps.
I like anything that like uses
the prophet
projections
says.
to show you how you're wrong. Or the way you think about the world is wrong. I liked the New Zealand as the center of the projection one. And I mean, anything that does that, your Mercator projection is confusing to everybody. Like the Japan one is worthwhile.
Hi, Martin.
Yeah.
How are you, Martin?
Pretty.
Sleepy. I got a new mattress yesterday, which I had a bunch of complicated feelings about because it wasn't an entirely smooth process.
Okay.
And my first night on it was mixed, I think, because it turns out that like trying to judge a mattress whilst you're trying to sleep on it, plus also having some other brain stuff going on, is not entirely straightforward. Also, just as a hill that I've now chosen that I will always die on, fuck non-standardized bed sizes. The fact that I have a European king bed frame and I bought the king mattress and discovered at the point where I put the mattress on the bed frame that they were not the same size was not a good moment in my life.
Oh dear.
I mean, it's also totally fine because it turns out that you can still sleep on the mattress and I just need to get over myself. But I was briefly very angry.
Are European kings smaller than UK kings?
They're slightly larger. They're slightly fatter.
We should just all move to European sizes. They're better. Less confusing.
Don't care what sizes we move to. We need to have one set of sizes. We need to have not one retailer, specifically IKEA, who sells a different set of sizes.
Hi, Martin.
Hi, Frankie. What a surprise, what I'm talking about.
I would add to your complaints, fuck all of the mattress providers that don't actually tell you any information that you can use to reliably compare mattress qualities. Like, they won't give you the GSM. Really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever say things and then think, "Oh, I'm a grown-up now, aren't I?"
That moment passed a long.
I'm doing that since I was 4, and I still don't feel like I'm grown up.
Oh.
Also, hi everybody.
Hey.
Hi, Frankie.
Ainsley, do you remember any of your childhood, oh, I'm a grown-up thoughts? Because I feel like they'd probably be quite sweet. Or actually, knowing you, very, very practical, probably.
Oh, I said that, but now I don't have anything.
That's okay. If they come to mind, I bet they'd be really lovely to hear. Like, probably a really wonderful combination of sweet and practical, I feel like.
You're just like
when I bought my first Hoover, that was my day.
when you what?
When I bought my first vacuum machine.
Oh, I did at the age of 10 convince my mom that I should combine my Christmas present, birthday present, and the next Christmas present so that I could buy a really nice camera, or I could be given a really nice camera as a present for all of those combined gifts.
I feel like it's pretty good.
I think I was 10 or 12.
I remember saying something like that. I don't remember what age. I was like, well, since I'm asking for a bigger present, can it be for this, that, and the other?
That's very cute.
That's not really a adult. I feel like an adult.
Yeah, mine was definitely the first time I booked a dentist appointment just for a checkup, not because there was anything wrong. Oh, it's probably about time that I went and had my teeth looked at, so I'll book a dentist appointment. And it was like, wow, yeah.
Good job. Gustav's dad is a dentist, and he's still he hasn't booked a dentist appointment to get checked just for a random checkup. Maybe I should do that since I met him.
Send him to my dentist. I have such a crush on my dentist. She is this incredibly lovely, incredibly beautiful, smiley, cheery, sweet Spanish lady. I am legit a bit in love with her. When I kind of lie back and she sort of leans over me to examine my teeth, there's a little bit of me that's like, oh, this is intimate.
I have the same thing with my dentist as well, but it's
But what?
But it's also a special brand of hell as well, though, because the dynamic is so one-sided. You look amazing. You are staring at the back of my bicuspids. I don't even see them well enough to I don't know how to groom those. In fact, that's part of the thing is literally they are looking at the inside of your face disapprovingly. It's there's nowhere to go.
That is very true. Hi, Gordon.
My dentist is really cute, but he's also new.
Oh, no.
And I think that I should probably find a different dentist.
Yeah, sure.
The first dentist that I
Cute
had,
is not a good quality in a dentist if they stab you in the gums.
the first dentist that I had when I moved to Glasgow was absolutely fantastic. He was quite old, and then shortly after I'd had him a few times, he retired, and I was gutted because he would talk about the intricacies of dental technology to me in
Oh, baby.
an interesting way while he was doing crazy shit in my mouth, and I'd never feel it. I was like,
That's really nice.
That's so
The
cool.
best kind of dentist.
and he had a soft, soothing voice.
Oh.
I always get on really well with my dentist, but I don't know, I have some kind of thing where just all medical professionals stop being professional around me. They get quite candid. Like the first dentist I had when I came to Glasgow, she like looked at my mouth and then just kind of stared at the ceiling for 3 seconds and just went, "Good grief." Okay. Is that good?
You've got a confessional face.
I remember not crack up laughing in. Is it a universal optician thing to speak in that very soft voice?
Yeah.
Doing the
Is
thing
it better one or
look
two?
left, look right,
Yeah.
into my light. And my sister had, like, as teenagers, we had been talking about this one thing, and our optician had a very nice, like, Scottish accent first, so whispering that bit was just lovely. But then when he then did that later that day, when his face is about this close to you, I was struggling really hard to not just, like, crack up laughing right into him.
It makes me think of like the high school guidance counselor voice a little bit. But yeah, my dentist and I actually trade books quite a bit, and I haven't seen him in a little while and went recently. So he asked what I've been reading recently. So I gave him all Storytime books, and he said, "Okay, I'm gonna read these, and then I'll come back to you with recommendations because I've been reading a bunch." So next time I see him,
This is all such like wholesome dentistry chat.
You really know that you've become an adult when you spend quite a long time talking about your dentist experience with your friend.
This is definitely one of those kind of grown-up conversations. Did I ever tell you about like one of my like very first kind of like formative quasi-sexual experiences was with a dentist? Have I told you this?
Oh my goodness.
Like,
Not me. You have not told me.
People.
So it was it wasn't sexual. It like absolutely wasn't sexual. And it was just like, you know, and one of these experiences that happen like at an age when you are like starting to kind of like head towards puberty, but you like are definitely not a teenager, like a proper teenager yet. So I was maybe like, I don't know, like 12 or something, like just at that age where you start to be like, oh, you know, like I'm kind of aware of like where my sexual preferences are going to lie when I like finally find out what sex is. And I had like fluorosis discoloration on my front teeth because of like the fluoride in the water where I was a kid. And I, you know, felt really self-conscious about it. And so my mum took me to the Newcastle the dental school to kind of get one of the dental students to just like kind of sort of scrape away the discolored enamel and like fill it in. And so it was this like orthodontic student, and he must have been like, I don't know, 20, like student age, and so kind of like old enough to be a man but young enough to not be like a dad age. And like, yeah, I remember like him kind of like, you know, sort of me being back in this chair, because all of the dentists that I'd had when I was a kid were like old men with like big like tufty nose hair, like that kind of thing. And him like kind of leaning over and like being so close to me. And it was like the first time in my life I'd ever been like that physically close to like a boy, and kind of being like, oh my God. And like I have a really, really like strong memory of like the feeling of like his, like he had like obviously latex gloves on, and like the feeling of his fingers in my mouth was like this impossibly intimate experience. And I was like so embarrassed and like just lying there like, what, this is, oh my God, like I'm feeling some kind of way about this. But yeah, like, and definitely in hindsight I'm like, God, that was definitely a like formative sexual experience on some level.
And he's here tonight.
I have some follow-up
And I married that man.
Do you feel that if you don't have to give any details, you can just say yes or no? Do you feel like this experience might have, influence any kinks or any?
Yeah, this is my way of telling Martin and Zach that I'm into dentists, and you know that I need to like really
into really into like really smelly latex gloves but in the mouth.
Like Zach raises a good point in that fascinating as this is all undoubtedly it's not strictly.
It's not in your story.
It's a good story.
More chapter 2.
Okay. Okay, no, listen, no. I'm really sorry about banging on about that for such a long time when this is going to be such a good session. Okay, right.
Hey, Carmen, before we start.
Get my head out of the dentist chair. Hi, Carmen. Right, okay, I'm going to quiet you all down. Quiet you all down. Okay. In the space. Are you ready? You've got to be ready, okay? You're going to need to be ready for this. Are you sitting comfortably? And I'll begin. Red wins a battle between starfleets in the far future of Strand 2218. As the great Mon-Fri lists planetward, raining escape pods, as battle stations wilt like flowers tossed into flame, as radio bands crackle triumph and swift skinners swoop after fleeing void tails, as guns speak their last arguments into mute space, she slips away. The triumph feels stale and swift. She used to love such fire. Now it only reminds her of who's not there. She climbs up thread, taking solace in the past. Red rarely seeks company with others of her kind. They are oddballs all, decanted after being found at some point in their development, deviant. Or, the most deviant of all, those who decanted themselves. They are not at peace and play in the celestial rose. They carve their bodies off. They introduce asymmetry. They would make this war, she thinks, if there were not a war already made for them to make. But she seeks company now, in one of the places she can always find it. Sun hammers the streets of Rome. A man with a lean face and a sharp nose and a laurel crown walks, attended, past the theatre of Pompey. Others intercept him, summon him inside. A crowd's waiting there, in the shadows. The senators, their servants, and others. Have you, Red asks one of the others, ever felt you're being followed? That commandant is spying on you? One senator offers Caesar a petition. Followed, says the man with a broken nose to her left. By the enemy, sometimes. By the agency. If Commandant wanted to spy on us, she could read our minds. Caesar waves off the petition, but the senators cluster close. Someone's dogged my tracks, Red says, but they're gone as soon as I think to catch them. Enemy agent, says the woman to her right. These are jaunts of my own, research trips, not counterplay. How would an enemy agent know where I was going? One senator draws a knife. He tries to stab Caesar in the back, but Caesar catches his hand. If it is Commandant, says the man with a broken nose, why worry? She frowns. I would like to know if my loyalty is being tested. The man whose hand has been caught shouts for help in Greek. Knives slither from senators' sheaths. That would defeat the purpose of the test, observes the woman. Come on, we'll miss the fun. She has a wide grin and a long blade. Caesar shouts some words, but they're lost in the din as the killers descend. Red shrugs and sighs and joins them. Their war holds few enough chances to cut loose, and she can't be seen to pass them up. Blood sticks to her hands. She washes them later, in another river, far away. Leaves are turning in the Ohio woods when the geese land. One departs from the flock to approach. Red ponders the fate of the last goose to bring her a letter and feels a moment's guilt. Twine loops the goose's neck, and from the twine hangs a pouch of thin leather. Her hands tremble as she opens the pouch. 6 seeds lie inside, tiny crimson teardrops with tinier numbers scratched into their surface, 1 through 6. On the leather, in an ink too blue for this continent or strand, handwriting she knows well, though she's only seen it once, traces, "Do you trust me?" She sits in the woods, alone. She does. Red trusts her so far down in the bone she has to ponder a long while to realize what distrust might imply, what these seeds might be, what they might do to her if she's wrong. She eats the first 3 seeds, one by one. She should be sitting beneath a baobab tree, but she slumps under a buckeye instead, surrounded by spiked shells. As each letter unfolds inside her mind, she frames it in the palace of her memory. She webs words to cobalt and lapis. She weds them to the robes of Mary in San Marco frescoes, to paint on porcelain, to the colour inside a glacier creek. She will not let her go. The 3rd seed, with its 3rd letter, drops Red into a swoon. She wakes at rustle of buckeye shells to find the last 3 seeds still clutched in her fist, but the leather bag missing. She hears footsteps in the wood and pursues them. A shadow darts before her, always out of reach, and then it's gone, and she falls panting to her knees in the empty wood. Dear price greater than rubies, I've been needle felting for my lover's sister's children, an owlet for one, a fawn for the other. Curious to use so delicate a tool for such savage work. You take a needle so fine you wouldn't feel it in your own flesh, then stab it through a mess of roving over and over until the fibres settle into shape. I feel you, the needle of you, dancing up and down thread with breathtaking abandon. I feel your hand in places I've touched. You move so fast, so furious, and in your wake the braid thickens, admits fewer and fewer strands, while garden scowls thunderclaps and bids me deepen my work. I like to think of all the ways I could have stopped you, were I so inclined. Sometimes I am inclined. Sometimes I sit here stationary and know you so swift and sure and think I must prove myself her equal again. And the sharp electric ache to stop you just to see you admire me is a kind of needle too. I have 6 months to fill before I can send this to you, so I am writing in pieces, parceling out the words I wish you to have, though of course you'll read them all at once. Or perhaps you won't. Perhaps you'll want to save these seeds to absorb at your leisure, perhaps even at the pace of my writing them. But why waste so much time? More dangerous to keep them on you where they can be found. Better to read them all at once. At any rate, this is staghorn sumac, not poisonous, delicious mixed into meats, salads, tobacco. Taste how tart it is, how tangy. Grind it into a spice to sprinkle or smoke, or soak the berry heads whole and get something like lemonade. These seeds, for you, are best eaten one at a time, rolled around your tongue and broken beneath your teeth. Yours, Blue. P.S. I love writing in aftertaste. P.P.S. I hope you notice the difference between this sumac and the poisonous one. Only one of them is red. My dear sugar maple, we're tapping the trees, boiling sap down for syrup and hard candy. I like you to know, with my words in your mouth, the places and ways in which I think of you. It feels good to be reciprocal. Eat this part of me while I drive reeds into the depth of you. Spill out something sweet. I wish sometimes I could be less fierce with you. No, I feel sometimes like I ought to want to be less fierce with you. That this, whatever this is, would be better served by tenderness, by gentle kindness. Instead, I write of spilling out your sap guts with reeds. I hope you can forgive this. To be soft for me is so often pretense, and pretense does not come easily while writing to you. You wrote of being in a village upthread together, living as friends and neighbours do, and I could have swallowed this valley whole and still not have sated my hunger for the thought. Instead, I wick the longing into thread, pass it through your needle eye and sew it into hiding somewhere beneath my skin. Embroider my next letter to you, one stitch at a time. Yours, Blue. Dear Sailor's Delight. The snow's gone and everything is warming, as if the sun were knuckling into the earth with both hands and kneading it into release. Planting time on the horizon. And I take this phrase and turn it over, smile at how garden seeds time, makes time a planting more subtle than desert seasons, and the horizon is a promise. I have waited until now to address your concern about shadows. I have paid careful attention. There was a time earlier in our correspondence when I was absolutely certain of being trailed. Little things, faint, difficult to name, but you know the feeling of walking into a room where someone has recently been and left. Like that, but in reverse. Never followed quite, but trailed. But I've not felt this since being embedded, which may be cause for concern. When Garden embeds an agent, as I'm sure your commandant has noticed, they are near impossible to approach, indistinguishable from their surroundings, so thoroughly enmeshed in the fabric of strands that to cut us out would tear unsightly holes through which chaos pours. Chaos no one down thread wants, not even your oracle who lives and breathes the stuff. Too unpredictable, too difficult to manage, the cost-benefit all askew. And so you catch us on the move, in between, while we're dancing the braid as well, touching lives only lightly. Even Garden has difficulty reaching us with the more nuanced branches of their consciousness. To be an agent out of time and approach someone embedded, you need to practically wear their skin before the braid would allow you within 50 years or 1,000 miles of their position. You'll ask, but how are you able to send me letters in the contents of birds' stomachs? Think of birds as a comms channel I can open and close seasonally. Fellow operatives relate their work to me at the equinoxes. Garden blooms more brightly in my belly. There's enough traffic that it's a simple matter to disguise incoming and outgoing correspondence, misdirect, hide in plain sight. Enemy agents, though, I've heard stories of what happens to those of your side who try to push through to one of our plantings. Imagine walking through a thorn hedge that grows thicker, harder, sharper the more you push into it, and you'll have something of what it's like. But for acres, for decades, until you're ribboned and rent into tinsel. All this to say, I'm not being followed. If you are, I'll send out what feelers I can to see if it's my people. It may well be. Garden's clearly been interested in you since you were small. But I've every confidence in your ability to evade and outmaneuver anyone from my side. Anyone who isn't me. If it's your people, that's more complicated and troubling. Be careful. Yours, Blue. P.S. Any information you can give me about the quality of shadow, a scent, a qualifying colour of feeling, the nightmare you woke from after you thought yourself safe, will help me investigate. Though I suppose I never did learn if you dream. Blue is braiding grasses between her fingers. It looks like purest idleness. A long-haired woman at day's end, painted in sunset, cross-legged near the river, weaving for pleasure. She is not making baskets or nets, not even crowns or garlands for the children running barefoot nearby. What she does is study. What she does is play in 6 dimensions, a game of chess in which each piece is a game of Go. Whole boards of black and white stones dancing around each other, pushed, knights turned rooks, iterations of Atari carefully constructing checkmate. She lays grass over grass over grass and studies not only the geometries of green, but the calculus of scent and heat, the thermodynamics of understory, the velocity of birdsong. While so enmeshed, not in grass to grackle scold, the smell of leaf mould to sun's azimuth, a tree swallow swoops near, scissors her peripheral vision, severs her from trancing reverie with its dissonance. It flashes blue at her eye's edge, stuns her with its unaccountable presence. There are tree swallows aplenty, but this one is wrong. This one approaches an empty nest in autumn, a nest that she was near to harvesting to show her nephew and teach him about how much weaving can be learned from birds. She stands, and the grasses fall from her hand like seeds. She follows the swallow, watches as it deposits a damselfly in the nest, and flies away. She climbs, plucks the insects from the muddy twigs, hops back down. In the damsel's needle body, checkered in black and blue, she reads a letter. She looks from the dead damsel to the scattering it's made of her thoughts, fistfuls of green and gold heaped uselessly together, and feels nothing but a knifing, knotting happiness as she opens her mouth to devour it, wings and all. Years later, a seeker shadows the grass where Blue lay. She scoops up a handful, then melts away. My blueprint. I have read your first 3 sumac letters. I cannot let them go unanswered, though I feel to write without knowing what comes next. I taste the letters still. They linger. They undermine all other flavours, pipe them full of you. Perhaps I'll ask a question answered later. Perhaps I'll write a sentence that offends. But if you hunger, I swell. You have me watching birds, and though I don't know their names like you know them, I have seen small bright singers puff before they trill. That's how I feel. I sing myself out to you, and my talons clutch the branch, and I am wrung out until your next letter gives me breath, fills me to bursting. I miss you in the field. I miss defeat. I miss the chase, the fury. I miss victories well earned. Your fellows have their intrigues and their passions, and now again a clever play, but there's none so intricate, so careful, so assured. You've whetted me like a stone. I feel almost invincible in our battle's wake, a kind of Achilles, fleet-footed and light of touch. Only in this non-existent place our letters weave do I feel weak. How I love to have no armour here. You wish you could hold me at knife point again. You do still, in a way. So long as I bear these last 3 seeds in a hollow behind my eye, you are a blade against my back. I love the danger of it. Besides, I am not so naive as to think your posting to this strand entirely lacks purpose. Your garden works slowly, works through lives. It burrows you deep, and through you wreaks great change, while we strive upon the surface. And in your absence, you are deadly as a blade. Lacking letters, lacking the tremors of your footsteps through time, I seek out your memories. I ask myself what you would say and do if you were here. I imagine you reaching over my shoulder to correct my hand on a victim's throat, to guide the braiding of a strand. I am being watched. The shadow, my seeker, steals after me. I glimpse it in the purplish gloaming, but where I chase it, it is not. Smells. Hard to say, though hints of ozone and burnt maple. It takes many forms. I worry it is just a phantom, a consequence of my breaking mind. I had hoped to catch it, kill it, prove myself sane or not before consuming your next letters. I cannot endanger us, endanger you any further. But I am the songbird running out of air, and I must breathe. I dream. They freed us from sleep as from hunger, but I like exhaustion, call it a kink or what you will, and in my work up thread it's often convenient to impersonate humanity. So I tire myself with work, and I sleep, and dreams come. I dream of you. I keep more of you inside my mind, my physical, personal, squishy mind, than I keep of any other world or time. I dream myself a seed between your teeth, or a tree tapped by your reed. I dream of thorns and gardens, and I dream of tea. The work waits. They'll catch me here if I remain. More soon after I've put this shadow to bed, after we're safe. Yours, Red. Red's off to catch a shadow. She lays traps. She doubles back in time to build dead ends of history. She tangles strands. Her quarry, whose quarry she is in turn, slips free, leaving now a sound, now a taste on the air, nothing so grand as a thread caught on a thorn. In down-thread server farms couched in remnant icebergs' hearts, she circles back upon her trail, glimpses the shadow, fires her flechette pistol through rack space gaps, birthing blue sparks. In a soccer's court, an acrobat, she climbs, flips, turns, sifting 1,000-person crowd for a single predator, one watcher who should not be there. She smells the shadow and smells it slip away. She storms the falling walls of Jericho, and in dense streets she hears a footstep on stone that does not belong. She turns, draws, lets fly. An arrow embeds itself in stone. She races grav cycles through a crystal forest, coursing with the brilliant pulse of human beings whose physical bodies have been rendered like bacon fat until the fragrance of their minds expands to fill all space. Whatever she is seeking, whatever's seeking her, it does not catch her there, though she does not catch it in return. She finds a pregnant possibility by a riverbed and waits. She does not know why she thinks the shadow will visit here, but she feels she's growing to know the thing, its habits, when it visits her and when it keeps away. She seeds the air with nanobots, weaves servants through the grass. She sets drone spies and sentry cameras. She tasks a satellite to her service. She watches the river, cautious, quiet, for 7 months. She blinks once. And when she opens her eyes, she feels the moment has passed. The shadow has been and gone, and she's learned nothing. No traps have sprung. The nanobots failed to register a presence. The cameras have one by one turned off, and the satellite orbits mute and broken. Red aches for the letters she keeps behind her eye. She cannot breathe. A great hand clutches her about the chest, squeezing. She feels trapped in her skin, bound beneath her skull. Dreams help and memories, but dreams and memories are not enough. She wants to imagine a laugh. She must wait. She cannot wait. Far, far up thread, she sits beneath something like a willow tree in a dinosaur swamp, holds a sumac seed between her teeth, and bites. Red sits still for hours. Night falls. Wind rustles ferns. An apatosaur lumbers past, ruffling its feathers. She lets herself feel. The organs that buffer her emotions from physical response shut down, and all she's hidden washes over her. Her heart quakes. She heaves in gulps of breath, and she is so alone. A hand settles on her shoulder. She catches the shadow's wrist. The shadow throws her, and she throws it in turn. They tumble through undergrowth. They crash against an enormous mushroom's trunk. Small lizards scuttle out. The shadow's afoot, but Red snares its leg in hers, brings it down. She goes for the joint lock, but her own leg's locked in turn. She wriggles free, punches 3, 4 times, each one blocked easily. Implants burn. Wings part from her back to vent waste heat. She hits hard. She catches the shadow in the ribs, but those bones do not break. The shadow floats behind her, touches her shoulder, and her arm goes limp. Red throws her weight back, snares its arm as she falls. They slip together in the mud. Red's fingers hook to claws. She tries to find a throat, finds it, clutches. And somehow the shadow slips free and leaves her lying, panting, furious, alone in the mud. She curses the stars that watch the dinosaur night. Red can bear the weight no longer. She rises, staggers to a river, washes her hands, pops out her left eye with her thumb and probes the socket until she finds the 3 sumac seeds. The one she ate earlier was a fake. Fuck safety. Fuck the shadow. Red knows hunger now. She eats the first seed beneath the canopy. She chokes. She curls around herself. She cannot breathe. She crumbles around her heart. The organs she remembers are turned off. This pain is new. She does not turn them on again before she eats the second seed. Out in the swamp, great beasts echo her groan. She is not a person anymore. She is a toad. She is a rabbit in a hunter's hand. She is a fish. She is, briefly, blue, alone with Red and together. She eats the 3rd letter. Silence claims the swamp. The aftertaste stings her tongue and fills her. She weeps. and laughs into her tears and lets herself fall. They might find her, kill her here. She does not care. Among the dinosaurs, Red sleeps. Seeker, muddy, battered, torn, finds her sleeping, touches her tears with an ungloved hand, and tastes them before she goes. Dear Strawberry. Summer settles like a bee on clover, golden, busy, here then gone. There's so much to do. I love this part of being embedded, love feeling thoroughly run out at day's end. No recuperation ponds, no healing sap, no quiet green murmuring in my marrow. Just sweat and salt and sun on my back. Everyone loving their bodies while knowing their bodies. This beautiful dance. We pick berries. We fish the rivers. We hunt ducks and geese. We tend the gardens. We organize festivals, light fires, discuss philosophy, fight skirmishes where necessary. People die. People live. I have been laughing a great deal this summer, and it has been so easy. You say my letter found you in a moment of hunger. How to say what it means to me that I might have taught you this, shared it somehow, infected you with it. I hope it isn't a burden at the same time that I want you seared by it. I want to sharpen your hungers fully as much as I long to satisfy them, one letter at a time. I want to tell you something about myself, something true or nothing at all. Yours, Blue. P.S. I'm so happy you read the Mitchison. Constantinople is difficult, but it helps sometimes to think of the book as moving through phases of storytelling time. Myth and legend give way to history, which gives way again to myth, like curtains parting and meeting again on either side of a performance. Haller begins in Mitchison's Norse myths outside of book time, and by the end has been absorbed, embedded perhaps, into the myths of those she's travelled with. All good stories travel from the outside in. Dear Raspberry. It's not that I never noticed before how many red things there are in the world. It's that they were never any more relevant to me than green or white or gold. Now it's as if the whole world sings to me in petals, feathers, pebbles, blood. Not that it didn't before. Garden loves music with a depth impossible to sound, but now it songs for me alone. Alone. I want to tell you about when I learned that word, really, with all of me. The reason I'm a tumbleweed, a dandelion seed, a stone rolling until she's planted in place, then kicked up again. We're grown, I think you know. Seeds planted, roots combing through time, until garden repots us in different soil. Our seeding points are so thoroughly embedded that what I mentioned before about approach is inconceivable. Garden goes to seed, blows us away, and we burrow into the braidedness of time and mesh with it. There is no scouring hedge to pass through. We are the hedge entirely, rosebuds with thorns for petals. The only way to access us is to enter garden so far down thread that most of our own agents can't manage it, find the umbilical taproot that links us to garden, and then navigate it up thread like a salmon in a stream. Which, if any of you could do, would mean we were vanquished already. If you had that kind of access to garden, you could raise our whole shift. I shouldn't tell you this. In spite of all, I keep thinking, this could be such a long con. This could be the information you wanted all along. This... But does it matter, really? The point of no return was millennia from now, kept folded up small and tea-scented in a subcutaneous sac I grew beneath my left thigh. Not exactly a locket full of hair, but no reason that should be less grotesque to the disembodied, I suppose. Anyway. I never mentioned, I think, the strand in which Garden planted the seed of me. To begin my life with the beginning of my life feels absurd to such as us, doesn't it? But it wasn't anything special. Strand 141's Albic parts, in the same year as the death of its Chatterton, though I beg you not to cast my horoscope. When I was very small, still just barely a sprout of Garden rooted through a 5-year-old girl, I got sick. This wasn't unusual. We're often deliberately made sick, inoculated against far future diseases, dosed with varying degrees of immortality, whatever it takes to make us into whatever we need to be when Garden releases us into the wholeness of the braid. But this was different. This wasn't Garden infecting me to strengthen me. This was someone infecting me to get at Garden. This should have been impossible. I was enmeshed. But somehow, I was compromised by enemy action. It has the quality of fairy tale to me. I was sleepy in that space between dream and waking when one can't be certain whether what one's seeing is real or a storm of nanites rewiring your synapses. I had to deal with that once. It was unpleasant. I hope you never have to electrocute yourself to burn bugs out of your brain. Then again, maybe that's covered in basic training for your lot. I remember a kiss and something to eat. It was so kind, I couldn't fathom it as unfriendly. As fairy tale as it gets, really. I remember bright light and then hunger. Hunger that was turning me inside out. Hunger in the most primal way imaginable. Hunger that obliterated every other thing. I couldn't see I was so hungry. I couldn't breathe. And it was like something was opening up inside me and telling me to seek. I think some part of me must have been screaming, but I couldn't tell you which. My body was an alarm bell sounding. I turned all of myself toward Garden to be fed, to stem this, to stop me from disappearing. And Garden cut me off. Which is standard operating procedure. Garden must endure. Garden can, does, has, will shed pieces, always. Cuttings, flowers, fruit. But Garden endures and grows stronger again. Garden couldn't let the hunger reach beyond me. I understand that now, but at the time, I had never been alone. And I think of you making that aloneness for yourself apart from the others as a choice. But for me, I was only my body, only my own senses, only a girl whose parents were running to her because she had a bad dream. I touched their faces, and they were mine. I touched the bed I was on, smelled apples stewing somewhere outside. It was as if, in my own small way, I'd become Garden. So me in my wholeness, me in my fingers, in my hair, in my skin, whole the way Garden is whole, but apart. The hunger simmered in me for a week, during which I ate so much my parents whispered of eggshell stews and hot pokers. I learned to hide it. And then, after a year, Garden took me back. Grafted me back on as if we'd never severed, probed and peered and sorted through me, doused me in medicines and protections, scoured me inside and out. Nothing was found. My maturation had been sped up oddly, perhaps, but that was all. And after some keen scrutiny during the next few years, the fears that I'd been compromised were mostly laid to rest. Nothing in the braids suggested corruption beginning from my strand. Important, too, to broadcast that the attempt at penetrating enmeshment had been unsuccessful, though it had succeeded. But as they never tried it again, Garden's gambit there must have convinced the relevant parties. So Garden deployed me, made much of me, praised and elevated me, but always at something like arm's length. My eccentricities are tolerated. My love of cities, of poetry, my appreciation for being rootless, for being in some ways more gardener than garden, or gardened. My appetites, that being flooded with garden can't seem to sate. You, though, Red. My apple tree, my brightness. Sometimes when you write, you say things I stopped myself from saying. I wanted to say, I want to make you tea to drink, but didn't, and you wrote to me of doing so. I wanted to say, your letter lives inside me in the most literal way possible, but didn't, and you wrote to me of structures and events. I wanted to say, words hurt, but metaphors go between like bridges, and words are like stone to build bridges, hewn from the earth in agony, but making a new thing, a shared thing, a thing that is more than one shift. But I didn't, and you spoke of wounds. I want to say now, before you can beat me to it, Red, when I think of this seed in your mouth, I imagine having placed it there myself, my fingers on your lips. I don't know what this means. This feels like being cut off again in the strangest way. Feels like teetering on the brink of something that will unmake me. But I trust you. Take these years of mine, take these seeds and let them grow me something similar in reply. I miss the length of your letters. Love, Blue. Even very long engagements come to an end. It happens like this. Blue, belly on the ground, ankles in the air, elbows and forearms printed with twigs and stems, tangles grasses. The game board that is a sphere and a braid and a forest of pleached trees encompasses her and the grasses. Garden asserts over and again that their rival shift relies too much on tricking time, evading it, skimming across it like stones, dipping in distasteful toes, thinking to divert its currents by rippling its surface. You must dwell, says Garden, within time to shift it in lasting ways. Play a slow game, but win. Blue's focus stills everything around her. She floods herself with green, follows networks of roots through earth and air and water while building her braid. Then she stops. Her hand trembles. I imagine you reaching over my shoulder to correct my hand on a victim's throat, to guide the braiding of a strand. She'd never noticed her hands before, her own hand as a strand. It changes everything. The grasses knot perfectly. The world tips sideways as she runs, as multi-dimensional millennia resolve into a perfect go-board with an impossible last liberty, just waiting for Garden to rise up through and claim, choking the agency like a banyan strangles its host. The deep work swells within her as she coheres with Garden, as she feels Garden jubilate like a river in spring, as Garden floods her with love and approval enough to sate a century of orphans. It's almost enough. It's unlike anything Garden has ever given her since that first severing. But within the swirling glow of cool, soothing colours, she keeps a tiny vein of herself apart, sees a hand on a throat, and thinks, I can't wait for Red to see. Dear Blue, I wish I could see your triumph. Knowing something of your mission, of the nature of your embedment, having committed the beat of your footsteps to my heart, I sense the change you will wreak upon us. The season turns. You will be free from your recovery and from your task. I'll be sent, no doubt, to undo the damage you've caused. And we'll run again, the two of us, up thread and down, firefighter and fire starter, two predators only sated by each other's words. Do you laugh, sea foam? Do you smile, ice, and observe your triumph with an angel's remove? Sapphire-flamed phoenix, risen, do you command me once again to look upon your works and despair? I distract myself. I talk of tactics and of methods. I say how I know how I know. I make metaphors to approach the enormous fact of you on slant. I send you this letter on a falling star. Re-entry will score and test it, but will not melt it away. I write in fire across the sky, a plummet to match your rise. Your praise cuts me, because though I speak so easily of certain things, though I rush through ground that to you seems mind, it's only earth to me. But your last letter, I am so good at missing things, at making myself not see. I stand at a cliff's edge and hell. I love you, Blue. Have I always? Haven't I? When did it happen? Or has it always happened? Like your victory, love spreads back through time. It claims our earliest association, our battles and losses. Assassinations become assignations. There was, I am sure, a time I did not know you. Or did I dream that me, as I've so often dreamed of you? Have we always fulfilled one another in the chase? I remember hunting you through Samarkand, thrilling to think I might touch the loosening strands of your hair. I want to be a body for you. I want to chase you, find you. I want to be eluded and teased and adored. I want to be defeated and victorious. I want you to cut me, sharpen me. I want to drink tea beside you in 10 years or 1,000. Flowers grow far away on a planet they'll call Cephalus, and these flowers bloom once a century when the living star and its black hole binary enter conjunction. I want to fix you a bouquet of them, gathered across 800,000 years, so you can draw our whole engagement in a single breath, all the ages we've shaped together. I veer rhapsodic. My prose purples. And yet I don't think you'll laugh. Or if you do, the laughter would delight me. Maybe I've overread the simple word with which you close your letter. But I can never overread you, and the word you chose is not simple. Maybe I overstep your bounds. And to be honest, love confuses me. I've never felt it before this. I've had joy in sex. I've had fast friendships. Neither feels right for this. And this feels bigger than both. So let me say what I mean, as well as I can. I sought loneliness when I was young. You've seen me there, on my promontory, patient and unaware. But when I think of you, I want to be alone together. I want to strive against and for. I want to live in contact. I want to be a context for you and you for me. I love you. And I love you. And I want to find out what that means together. Love. Red.
So good.
You read
Yeah.
so beautifully,
Aw.
Frankie.
Yeah.
My heart.
How are y'all doing? Gordon, are you okay, my darling? Oh, sweetheart. I had you on my screen and I was like, is he okay? Is he okay?
All the feels.
Good, all the feels. So I can't see everybody at the moment, but I will watch this back in the gallery view when I upload it. Can I have a quick show of hands to see if anybody cried or nearly cried? I'm hoping that there are some. Excellent.
No shame. It's almost always me.
Oh,
Oh my God, that was gorgeous.
right.
And geez, Frank, you just ripped my heart out again and again and again. Do you want me to just mail it to you? I can use a lot of bubble wrap.
That would be great.
Oh.
Buy it for your lovers. All of your lovers. Put it in their faces. Yeah. Well,
I feel like
enjoy.
this is a book where I want to have two copies, one to always keep and one to be willing to lend to people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm contemplating buying a paper copy because I only have it on Kindle at the moment.
Definitely buy a paper copy.
This is one of those books where, like, with how poetic it is, I want to be able to flip through it and skim it in a way that I just, like, can't with an ebook.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's got French flaps, so it's fancy.
I didn't know they were called French flaps.
French flap.
Wait, is that a really English thing instead of like
really
French thing? Because I mean, I remember in the grocery and David was like, could you pick up a French stick? And I was like, what the hell is that? So I mean, is it really called a French flap?
They really are called French flap.
You said the book is for love, or like send it to your lovers, but like I'm thinking of all, and maybe this says something about how I feel about my friends, but I was thinking about like all my very best friends, and it's like, yes, I want to taste them. I need to send them this book. So watch out, friends.
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't often. It's so obviously written by someone from Ontario, and I don't feel homesick in any way. But this is making me feel homesick in a way I haven't felt homesick in like 8 years.
What a massive win.
I guess so. And it's not even obvious, right? Like there's a couple like very subtle cultural references in the first chapter, and the animals and plants, but
really
all of the maple.
All the maple and the sumac and the hummingbirds.
Yeah, sumac.
God, Ontario sounds lovely. Maple and sumac
In
and
Ontario
honey,
sucks, as the prophets say.
There's a really nice hiking trail though that you can go from Ontario all the way to Manitoba, which is where I live.
So far though. That is
very
so
long.
It is very long. I do like a chunk
driven relatively along that route, but not walked it.
I love
done some of it. Like some of it's really nice. It's worth doing a chunk of, for sure.
I'm going
4 days to
bed.
drive.
Love you all.
Nice
Night, Marianne.
Bye.
We should
We
say
say goodbye to the catch-up crew.
Yes. Right, catch up crew. I hope you enjoyed it. I love you. We love you. Goodbye, catch up crew. Bye.